Three, two, one. Hello, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls. It's me, Big Mike, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Coffee with Big Mike, the series where I sit down for a chat with some rather interesting and amazing people over a nice cup of coffee. Joining me today is Lawrence, a member of the development team behind Let's Kill Hitler, the game. Welcome, Lawrence. How are you today?
Fine, mate. Thank you. How are you?
I am well, fam. It's a lovely, lovely Monday in my part of the world, and I'm very excited to have you on today to talk about this amazing game.
Pumped also to be in one of your Coffee with Big Mike series. As you can hear, I'm a French speaker, not a English native speaker, so please don't hesitate to, and it's a bit early in my part of the world, so don't worry to ask me to rephrase my sentences anytime, okay?
Oh, no worries. I have a great deal of respect for people who speak more than one language. As a language teacher myself, I have a great deal of respect for people who speak more than one language. But before we get too far into this, I have a certain fan out there who loves to know what me and my guests are having to drink. So if you don't mind, what are you drinking today, Lawrence?
Right now, obviously, at 8 a.m., it's a coffee. But we are collectively, actually, for the team, we are amateurs of gin and whiskey.
I'm drinking on a lovely coffee from Toraja, Indonesia. Very wonderful body, very fragrant mix of both an Arabica and a Robusta. Has a good taste and it's very strong as well. So
well, you're actually privileged to be living in a nice country for coffee. Yeah, definitely.
I was really surprised at the coffee culture here. Like, almost, you can find so many brands of coffee and so many local varieties, and it's, I'll be honest with you here, Lawrence. I used to drink coffee back when I was in the U.S., but I never really got into it like I did when I came here. I am such a hardcore addict now. Ooh, boy. But it's really good, though. So many varieties. Such a huge country. And with a lot of variety, a lot of different soil, and a lot of different coffee varieties. So everywhere you go, it kind of has its own unique taste. And so it's never a dull moment here. Never a dull moment in regards to coffee, I would say.
It's actually for your information, in French slang, but slang from the 1920s, 30s, a coffee could be designated by Java.
In English too. English too, actually.
In English too. Okay, I didn't know about it. So most probably related to Indonesia's rich coffee culture. For sure.
I believe so. So here on Java Island, well, actually I live on Java Island, so such a integral part of the country, such an integral part of the culture. And I would say coffee here is, everybody drinks coffee. Even very young children would drink coffee. And I'm not sure whose idea it was to give small children coffee, but It's another level here, but very, very amazing coffee, I would say. But, I find it amazing that the whole world tends to run on Java. Not just coffee, but also the programming language as well. And yeah. I want to ask, speaking of Java, speaking of programming languages and stuff, now, as a game developer, I can imagine, you just don't work with games, but you also have to be somewhat of a gamer yourself, right?
Yep, absolutely. Early 80s.
Oh, and if this isn't too personal, what was your first game?
The first game that I remember playing, because it's a bit hazy part, but the first game, which is still the most cherished for me, was The Hobbit. I don't know if you're familiar with this one?
Was it an arcade game, or was it for like a console like the Atari?
No, it was one of the first PC games, and you could PC role-playing games, and you were actually leading a party with your classical choice of classes and races and a number of um, characteristics that you could allocate points to. And you were basically going through a dungeon uh, and an exploration of a world, but it was in natural language. So you could, well, almost in natural language, you could actually speak in English with the thing. Uh, and it was with a degree of freedom of action, exploration. There was this interaction between the different characters that you were having, because it had kind of automated interaction between the characters, uh, and which was kind of unique and puts it on par with current games. Actually, there are things in current games which are completely absent and which were present in the Hobbit. So it's a very, very interesting game. If you got the opportunity to find it, I recommend that you try it, definitely.
You know, I was unfortunately, well, I guess I shouldn't say unfortunately, but I was born in the late 80s. And so a lot of those older PC games I kind of missed out on. So, but
Yeah, you
recently,
missed the golden age. Yeah?
recently, I would say back in 2022, about this time back in 2022, maybe a little earlier, I stumbled across, PC game, like very old MS-DOS style gaming. And actually, I found it to be a very unique world that's often overlooked by today's gamers. And I think it's really interesting because a lot of those games now, because so much time has passed, and a lot of the companies that developed them are no longer around, a lot of those games tend to be abandonware now. And
Yeah,
so if you're ever
yeah,
looking for
absolutely there. Mm.
yeah, so if you're ever looking for a free source of game, a legally free source of gaming, they are a great resource to take advantage of.
Mm. Well, I wouldn't say that they are that they would be in theory completely free from a legal standpoint, but even if you find even if you find a copy, the joys of copyright are the universe of software copyright is quite complex. So you might turn out being involuntarily infringing on the property with somebody who's not there to claim it. That's for sure. Not there to claim it anymore. What is very interesting in these early periods is the fact that as the field was completely new, and there was, let's say, no market for that. Okay, no mass market for PC games. Everybody was an indie back at the time. Okay, and with an indie mindset, and people were trying things. Okay, it was brand new, so there were no rules, and people were really inventive and developed mechanics which are absolutely unbelievable. And the normalization that came after that, with the development of the industry and the first AAA studios, they brought, of course, they're bringing a lot of positive things to the industry, but they brought a normalization which kind of killed this enthusiasm, right? And today, of course, there is the indie development community which is doing things, but still it's way less creative than it used to be, because people have adopted, let's say, a set of rules to make games palatable to the player and to make them commercial successes. Back in the time, nobody cared.
I could easily imagine that. Even though I missed out on most of that gaming, I could easily imagine, that was the case. Whenever you have a medium that's so new, it's so new, so many more people are willing to take chances, to be experimental. And unfortunately, as that medium matures and becomes an accepted medium, you get certain standards as well that are put into place. And you can see this with film too. Like when you look at films from the early films that still survive today, there was some very wild stuff in those movies. But as time progressed, people wanted to market those films to a broader audience. And so they became a bit more tame, unfortunately. I do see what you're saying with the indies today. I see indies today as kind of almost being like a torchbearer to a certain extent to the PC forerunners that we were just talking about. There's a lot of experimentation that goes on now with the indies that you would never see with the bigger guys. And I feel like there are many amazing titles, such as the one we'll be discussing here today, that came about as a result, of people trying new things, with new technologies and such. And I'm very, very glad to be a part of that as well. I'm very glad to be a part of the indie scene. I'm not an indie game dev, but I've kind of been adopted into the scene by some really cool devs here. One final question I want to ask before we jump into talking about this game is, what kind of games are you into now?
Oh, this is a complicated question because, to be quite honest, for the last year, I'm ashamed to say that I've been almost non-playing. We have entered into this huge phase of work for us, and I will explain you why, on Let's Kill Hitler. So it has been extremely easy year. Fortunately or unfortunately, depends upon if you see it as a father or as a gamer. I've got 2 little kids, which is taking some time too. And actually, I guide them through their early playing. They've just started to play things like Minecraft. So, but I cannot say that I'm playing Minecraft. I'm sitting close to them while they play. And otherwise, I'm just currently trying to start downloading the 150 gigabytes of Baldur's Gate 3, which will be the first game that I will be playing since, I told you about 1 year. Otherwise, I'm very much, and this is the case for most of the people in the team, we are very, very much on action adventure and RPG, whether they are single player or co-op or MMO. We play a lot together and as friends, because what I didn't mention is the team has been working together on multiple different projects since 10 years now. So we work and play together.
Actually, I completely understand. I make a lot of content involving games, but playing games actually is something I don't do as much as you'd think I would do. So I'd say I go through phases, or seasons throughout my years. Sometimes of the year, rarely a day will pass while I'm not playing a game. And then there's sometimes in the year where I may go weeks or maybe even months without picking up a controller. So I completely understand, and being a father myself, it's, on the one hand, I find video games to be a great way to spend time with my daughter. But on the other hand, being a father, I do kind of take time away from gaming and, spend time with her, doing all the stuff a father should do. So I completely understand that. I completely understand.
Yeah. It's getting increasingly difficult to match playtime and lifetime. That's that's for sure. That's for sure.
Do you feel like there were any games that inspired Let's Kill Hitler?
Oh, yeah. I can definitely give you the reason why. The 2 reasons why. Actually, the 2 exact games which made us want to create a game that. Not create a game, but there is technology behind, okay, which we will have the occasion to discuss. We decided to move into the gaming, our technology in the gaming industry, because of 2 games. Destiny 1 and Cyberpunk, the first release. So these are not examples, okay, clearly. they created in me and our technical director, who are very very close friends actually, and we've been playing together Destiny 1 a lot, and in its early stages. And this created epidemic reaction, a complete allergy to the game, to the grinding process, to everything where we said, no, it cannot be, this cannot be what is presented, because it was presented at the time like a revolution in the FPS plus. It was supposed to be, if you remember this, an FPS with some rich storytelling, which ended up in 20 seconds of a cutscene and a horrible grinding process with rules changing every week. We said, no, it cannot be this. It cannot work like this. This is not possible. We had hope. So we started to take an interest into using our technology for gaming. We started working on that at that time, and came Cyberpunk. And actually, I've been. You understand that I'm a bit aged person, so I used to be also here when it was tabletop RPG great boom, and Cyberpunk was actually a brilliant tabletop RPG for the ones who have been lucky enough to play it. It was not very widespread, but was very good. And so, of course, we are expecting, I mean, you got the studio which is behind The Witcher 3, you got one of the most brilliant futuristic universes which has ever been coined, and you've got a brilliant set of rules. So you are telling yourself, okay, this is going to be a success. And it was not a failure, but the problem, the communication of the studio before that raised the level of expectation of the players so high that when they released what they did release at the first batch, it really made you want to burn the thing. Okay, that was, and we said, okay, no, there is room for us. Okay, at this moment, we were absolutely convinced that there was room for us. And we can discuss when in the next part of the interview what is actually what we feel player wants, what are very good successes in delivering this, but by cheating by AAA studios, okay? And why we feel that we are going to provide something a bit different here. So yeah, to answer your question, two counter examples of what would be a good game: Cyberpunk, I would call it alpha version, and Destiny 1 were the ones which definitely sent us on this trail.
I still remember when Cyberpunk first came out. Ooh, the internet was not very happy. The internet was not very happy with that release. But I think they learned from their mistakes, and I think now it's, it's from what I hear, it's a pretty decent game now. But then, it was not. I do not envy the devs who worked on that. The hate they got, and deservingly so. Well, maybe not deservingly so, because it wasn't their fault for the studio hyped it up. But yeah, I had no idea it was a tabletop either. I had absolutely no idea. I kind of dabble with some tabletop, and I'm not like an expert. I don't have a lot of experience, but when I was in university, and even now, sometimes I play some D&D with some online friends. But I had no idea it was a tabletop. I had no idea.
Yeah. It was at this time you had, it was exactly like you had in TTRPG in tabletop. You had exactly the same phenomenon that the one that you had with early MS-DOS gaming. Okay, you had a flurry of course, you had Guy Gygax, and the D&D franchise was definitely the number one on the field. But you had room and you had an interest of people, which I find is exactly like the indie dev scene is becoming, I guess, more and more active in the games development. Well, actually, I found a tabletop RPG community which is also super active. There is, it looks like the younger generation, sorry to speak like an almost retiree, but basically it feels like the younger generation has taken definitely a love for the thing. It's not just a hype. I think it's a love that you can see since several years now, and which give way to Stranger Things. I don't think it's Stranger Things that gave way to D&D is back. I think that it's actually D&D is back, and globally the 80s are back. Okay, is what gave way to things like Stranger Things. This way around.
I think there's been a huge change in the mindset of many people over, let's say, the past 10 to 15 years. At least in American culture, what I would consider nerd culture has gone from being something that's shunned, stuff like comic books, video games, tabletop RPGs, have gone to something that's being shunned, that's kind of like, you're uncool if you do that, to being popular. You see this with comic book movies, coming out the wazoo now. You see this with, gaming has become much more mainstream now. And I think something similar is going on with tabletop RPG games as well. And also, I think in today's world with many platforms online, I think it's more easy to get involved with a tabletop RPG. Like, I don't play very often, but now my friends and we can play D&D, and we're all on different continents. I'm in Asia. I have a friend, from New Zealand. I have friends from Europe and a lot of friends from America, and we all get together and we play. We play Dungeons and Dragons together. And there are many,
you got brilliant VTTs. Virtual tabletop, sorry to interrupt, but definitely virtual tabletop is clearly a huge add-on, and as it is allowing you to find it gives you the way not to find your match to mount a party, but it gives you a way to work with to extend your reach. That's for sure. That was always a great problem of TTRPGs. You need to find the time with common-minded people and to get in the same room. So creating a virtual room is expanding your possibilities. And we are following a couple of accounts on Twitter now of guys who are proposing actually matchmaking applications for RPG, which is actually feel something that is quite cool. So you got more and more tools when you're in this community to actually be able to find people whom with to play.
That's actually new to me. I had no idea that was a thing that was going on, but I can definitely see the applications of that, and I definitely think that's something that could be, that can be definitely appreciated and definitely has a great deal of use, within the TTRPG community. I want to ask, because I know I know a bit about the technology that this game is built on, and so there's so many different stories that could be told with this technology. So I want to ask, why this story? Why was there anything that inspired this particular story?
So to explain you this, Mike, we need to go a little bit in the tech. So don't worry, I'm not going to start to use crazy acronyms and complex concepts. I'm going to really keep it to keep it simple. But what you need to understand first is where we come from. Okay, we had our past in what people already called AI. Okay, because the term AI is from 1956, actually, but it has covered a lot of different realities until now. Okay? As usual with the IT technology. Marketers love to reuse words and change their meaning along the way, okay, or to coin new words to cover ancient meanings, which is another phenomenon. So AI has been around since very, very long time, and me and the rest of the team, we've been in this area and in connected areas, but business side. Okay. So we got an approach which is, we are not a gaming company originally. Okay. We are a group of, let's call it AI consultants. And actually, what we wanted to do is to fix, as we discussed, we are all RPG players, different RPGs, but we are all RPG players. And we wanted to fix what is both the problem of the industry and the problem of the players. Let me explain you this. RPG and RPG plus action adventure is a huge market, okay, with huge AAA titles and studios, and a huge number of indie, and a huge revenue. Every metric on this market is going up, 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 up. There is one which is going down, which is called player retention. So people are playing more and more and more, but they don't stick with the games. And the reason is, what we believe, the reason is they just get bored. Because when you play an RPG, whether it's an RPG or an MMORPG, your problem is getting new content. Okay? And there is a limit to what any studio, and regardless of the category of the game, regardless if it's an indie game, if it's a AAA, whoever is behind the game has got limited means. Okay, it's just the scope of the limitation which is different, and this is prohibiting to provide content the way it is required to allow for player immersion. If you want to immerse yourself in a game, you got basically three things that need to be provided to you. You need to have a credible and, if possible, baffling sensorial environment. Okay, so you need to have graphics, you need to have sound. Tomorrow, over relatively short term, I believe, you will have everything that is touch and movement. You will have odor, and you will have taste. Okay, this will come. So you will have the full experience, and you already have absolutely stunning graphics. I mean, when you see what you can do with, and what any trained designer trained on the tool can do with things like Unreal Engine or Unity. When you see things like meta-humans on Unreal Engine, when you see the level of credibility of this thing, today any designer has got access to tools which were the dream of Hollywood 20 years ago. They produce better graphics than what you used to have in blockbuster movies 20 years ago. And that is enough to be credible. And that is enough to be immersive. The second thing, you need to have a sense of purpose. So you need to have a brilliant storytelling. Okay? And this also, indies and AAA alike, and most probably more indies than AAA still, they can provide a sense of purpose. They can provide rich storytelling. The third thing is a sense of belonging to the world. And here comes a problem, because once you finished you can kind of align your sense of belonging with your sense of purpose in the world for a period of time. Okay? As long as you've got a quest, as long as you've got something to do, which is provided you in some explicit manner by the game. But at the end of the day, you run out of that. And you end up with things like fetch 3 apples, kill 5 wolves, or nothing to do. And then this is a moment where players are living. Yeah, another moment where they are living is actually during the grinding between levels. This is not managed quite nicely because, again, what they face is repetitive things like go fetch 3 apples and 5 apples and 10 apples, and this is boring. Okay, so players are just leaving the games, and we said, okay, you got tools for the sensorial experience. Okay, you got tools for that. They are brilliant. There is nothing to do there, at least for us. Okay. Uh, Regarding the storytelling, well, this is a game designer's job. Okay, so let's the storytelling be done by the game designers. But regarding the enrichment of content and the continuous provision of the content that fits the player in an individual way, this is where our technology is coming. Okay? And one key part of our technology is the ability to create NPC populations which are inhabiting the world. Okay, meaning inhabiting the world, meaning that they are somewhat tied and related to the environment, the game world that has been created. They got relationships between them, and actually these relationships are spawning across generations. Okay, we basically, in a nutshell, we take a starting population, a seed population, okay, and we are allowing them to reproduce, multiply, interact between them over a simulation of, for Let's Kill Hitler, it's 400 years. So we create a very, very strong background of our population, and then we pop the this population into the settlement that is the game world. And we are going to travel back in time. Okay, this is if you have the ability to deterministically define what will be the future population from your current population, and if you got the ability to relate to a past population because you've created it actually along the way. With your current population, then you can implement very interesting game mechanics. What about medieval fantasy RPG wizards' ability to see the past or predict the future? Well, actually, if you can spawn a population, and not only the population but its environment, in a future version of it, or in the past version of it in game. If you can do this, then you got the ability to model these kind of things and to propose this kind of experience to the players. And we said, okay, this is one of the things that we can implement, and let's propose a demo of our technology. And the demo on this specific feature will be travel in time. And what do you do when you travel back in time? Well, if you ask this to most people would say, let's kill Hitler. Okay? And so this started from here.
I gotta say, that was actually much deeper than what I expected it. I was really, really interested in the NPC technology here, the NPC aspect of it. Because based on what you've told me previously, is that, the way the generations function, how they function with NPCs, they sounded almost as like, they're like real populations, reproducing and making more and more and more, like you would think of like actual people having generations and generations and such. With their own personal histories, their own inter-rivalries and such. And so...
Yeah, absolutely. Please, sorry, Mike.
Oh, please continue. Please continue.
No, to react to what you said, this is not only to put this in perspective. Okay, these NPCs are, and we'll discuss this in detail on the technology part for sure. But these NPCs are baffling. But this is not the goal and the core of our technology. What you have to understand is our technology aims at answering the what should the player do now? Okay? What should the player do now in the world? Assuming that there is no more pre-written content. Okay? So you created your game world, whatever it is. You have a lore, okay? You add storytelling, you have a number of existing locations and whatever, existing NPCs, which you have been programming as a game designer. So you design them very well, they got a background story, etc., etc. But what you miss is, in order to move forward, is the ability to create contents dynamically, which is corresponding to the current needs of the player. Okay? So either something that he would like to do in this world, or something that you would like him to do in this world. Okay? And you can define it, actually, what can a player do in an open world is something that you can model. We found out that you can actually model this very efficiently. Okay? And you can break it down in a number of very, very well identified subtasks, okay? Tasks and subtasks that you can put together as a puzzle in order to provide the player something to do. And if you got some way of understanding what the player wants to do, then you can even propose him different puzzles and say, okay, I got this one, I think you like it better than this one. Okay? So different content, different experience. And in order to run this, you need to provide, in an RPG world, so you need to provide things like quest givers. Okay? You need to provide characters. You need to provide something that is going to fit with this content. So you need to have a pool of NPCs in which you can draw from in order to animate, okay, your quest, what I would call a dynamic quest, globally, okay? And you can basically have the NPCs which are going to be the characters of the quest that you're going to propose. You understand what I mean here? Was that clear?
If I understand correctly, you're making... it's making the NPCs, and each time each time you generate the NPCs, you're give you quests throughout the game, correct?
Not necessarily, okay? The quests are something which is separated from the NPCs, okay?
Oh, I see.
Let me, do we have time?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So let me backpedal a little bit here. Okay, anything that you can do in the open world, including quests, can actually be modelized in phases and tasks. Okay? You can take these phases and tasks. For an example, basically you can boil down a quest. You can boil down a quest as a succession of pass a test or play a minigame. Okay, pass a competency test or play a minigame on location. Do a series of actions that is going to lead to a certain result, or travel. Okay, these are what we call primers of a quest. These are the three things. If you think about it, you're starting your quest at level. You just been given to you by the NPC quest giver, and you are receiving this, and it can contain only one of these three things: travel somewhere to do something, do something on location, which is going to be a series of action, or pass a test of your competence, your ability to, okay, whatever. So the action is just more complicated than the OT test. And if you travel to, well, you travel to either to meet someone, to fetch something or some information, or to deliver something or some information. Okay, this can be boiled down also like this. And after you got a complicated tree, okay, but basically everything that you do can be cut down in small actions. You can reassemble these actions in order to define something to do. So now, if I am a game designer, what I can do is I'm going to spend time on my main quest, my side quests. I'm going to define them very precisely. I'm going to define my NPCs. I'm going to define a global environment. Okay? But I've got holes everywhere in my world. And I got things that I don't want to spend time to define. Okay? So today what I'm doing is I'm creating a village. In this village, I'm creating like 10 NPCs, which are super detailed. And the rest is going to be guys with blue shirt, yellow shirt, white shirts, relatively dumb, and who are going to be going through a schedule. Okay, but they got no idea of each another. They got no idea of the world around them, and they bring nothing to the game except giving the illusion that there is a presence here. Okay. What you do with our technology is, instead of doing this, the game designer is basically going to say, well, in this area, I'm going to have a settlement with, let's say, 200 souls, okay, inside. So I'm going to have a 200 people population, which is going to have such and such characteristics. They're going to be poor, they're going to be middle class, they're going to be a mix of it, whatever. And you're generating this environment. So they are part of your world, okay? They are connected to your world. And now, when you're going to have your player who is in dire need of something to do, you're going to say, well, if he's in need of something to do, we need to give him something of his level. So let's say that at this stage, your player is level 10. Let's give him a level 10 thing to do. And now you're going to, based upon what your player likes to do, you're going to basically create a puzzle of actions, saying this is corresponding to a level 10 difficulty. Okay? So he needs to travel here, there. He needs to get he needs to bring one object, get one piece of information from the first guy, which is going to lead him to second guy having an item that he needs to recover, and he needs to bring it back to the quest giver. Okay, let's take something simple, but it can be super complex. Let's take this simple thing. So you know that he needs to have a quest giver, that he needs to have one person to which is going to bring piece of an object. Okay. He needs to retrieve a piece of information from another guy, which will be probably, he will probably be directed to this guy by the first contact that he had. And he might need to fight with another one in order to get back an object, which he needs to bring back to the quest giver. So I need to have 4 guys popped up. One of them is a foe, obviously, because I'm going to fight with him. So I need to have a good reason why I would fight with him. Okay, I'm not going to start killing nice people, unless the game rules are saying so. But basically, I'm going to have this definition of who should be acting. And I'm going to take into my population dynamically the different characters which are matching this. Okay, so I'm going to draw from my pool of existing NPCs, and I'm going to assign a role to these NPCs. So all my NPCs become potential actors of a content, a new adventure that we're going to generate. Is that clear like this?
Yeah. And actually, that actually leads to a question I wanted to ask, and I'm not sure if it's better asked in this interview or in our following interview, but would the adventure, the NPCs and the quests be the same for every playthrough, or would they be different for every playthrough?
Oh, they will be different. They will be different for multiple reasons, but we'll see this, I think, during our our interview, I'd like to. I would probably we're going to arrange so that I can show you the the quest creation tool. Okay, uh, which we make available for the VTT part for TTRPG. Okay, and in some of the mechanics that we're going to talk about also in Let's Kill Hitler, you got the ability to devise your quests, but you're dividing your quest in very broad terms, which can be something as simple as I want to play a level 5 quest, end of sentence, or I want to play a level 5 quest which includes fighting, traveling, and passing a test of agility. Okay. Or I want to pass a level 5 quest which includes traveling to this point, fighting with this guy, and passing a test of agility which looks like this. You can define really completely your level of details. Okay, and again, you can say, well, it's level 5, end of point. Give me a level 5 thing to do, and now, based upon what you like and what you don't like to do, and based upon the rules which have been set up by the game designer, and based upon also what the would be required for your current level, or what would be required in your current situation, or what would be required in your current level of completion of the main quest, for an example, then you're going to have the proposal of a puzzle. Okay, so you will have a quest. So you have the ability, and this is the strength of our tool, you have the ability to actually provide content which is unique every time and which is tailored for the player. This doesn't replace, and you will find that we like to be, when we have the discussion in depth on the technology, we like to do not overshoot our promises, okay? And not to exaggerate the capacities of our tool. This is not made, and this should not be used to make your epic quest. We are not in the logic of saying everything needs to be procedural, okay? We are in the logic of saying, in a good game, you should be able to have a mix between things which are designed by the game designer and things which are procedurally filled. Okay? So consider us like a procedural tool for creating contents, for creating adventure, where you don't need necessarily to be super inventive, super creative, and super detailed, but you want much better than go fetch 5 apples as a quest, because go fetch 5 apples is boring. And you might want to be able to take this, what I would call this grinding quest or filling quest, and connect them with your lore, with your storytelling, which is also something that we allow. So you can create not so detailed content, but which looks like actually any side quest that a game is proposing today in terms of complexity and scenario. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would say that actually seems like would help out a great deal with what you were talking about earlier about keeping players engaged, keeping players, entertained. Because if the game is, there's a significant difference, in certain elements, at least certain key elements, every time you play it, I can imagine that the charm doesn't wear off there, or it's much more difficult for the charm to wear off, I would say. So I feel like, utilizing this technology can help to overcome that type of problem that many developers would face when not just, attracting a player base, but keeping it engaged.
Yeah, absolutely. This has to be taken with a pinch of salt. Okay, when we will discuss probably the story of the history of the creation of the game. But we made actually a first version of Let's Kill Hitler, which we abandoned just before COVID pandemic, and this was entirely unleashed. So the whole environment, for an example, okay, the whole settlement in which the story was taking place, including the housing and the city plan and so on, was done dynamically. Okay. Based upon this simulation of the history of the population over time. So every time the population was different and the settings were different. And we found out that it became unplayable. It really became unplayable because it was super hard. You were arriving in a huge population. At the time, we were popping up like 6,000 NPCs at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah. Today we are popping up a reasonable 1,000 something. It's between 1,000 and 1,500. These are the limits, the bounds for the population generation that we use. And the 6,000 NPCs where we were generating every time like 1,500, 2,000 houses. Okay. And of course, when you are visiting a 2,000 housing settlement, it's becoming complicated. Okay, it's becoming super complicated to orient yourself to do a number of things. So we were definitely not providing a playable game. Okay, and today what we do is basically we kind of preset. We'll discuss this. We kind of preset the environment. So the population changes, the structure of the population changes, and this gives you the different people to talk to and a completely different configuration every time. But the physical environment is staying the same. So you got actually a map which is going to be the same, whatever is the game that you are playing. Okay, whatever the instance that you're going to be playing. While before that, the map was completely different, and this was making it maximum replayability, that's for sure, but ability to provide a consistent experience. Okay, which we believe is also a requirement for a game. You can have it. There are games on the market which are entirely procedural. And they are very good games, but we don't feel that this is what is being expected from players. Okay, what they want is a world with a storytelling. Because again, they need to have a sense of purpose. Okay, and the only way that we have to give them a sense of purpose is storytelling. If your world is changing every time, I mean, entirely changing every time, how can you develop a storytelling? You can't. Okay? So, to provide this rich storytelling that players are expecting, they need to have some form of stability. Okay? So this is the reason why I'm saying, yeah, on the paper, our technology can do completely different things every time, but with a pinch of salt, again, this is definitely not the way we would recommend people to use it, because they will run in other problems.
I want to ask, so it sounds like there was the need to strike a balance between being procedurally generated and focusing on the story, and that both were good, but there needed to be a balance there. Was it hard to find the right balance here for that?
Oh, you mean for the game or itself, or for the tech?
I would say for the game itself. Was it hard to find a balance between those two aspects?
Well, actually, as I told you, the first time we did try to the first version of Let's Kill Hitler is a complete show-off from a technology standpoint, and it's a catastrophe from a gameplay standpoint. So, yeah, we struggled a bit because we are not a game studio, but the good thing is we are gamers. So, we had enough understanding of what we were expecting and generally speaking, what we think a decent number of players must be expecting. So we were basically kind of just saying, okay, we screwed up royally. And now let's sit down and restart and let's make, if we want to show our technology through a game, it needs to be a game and not just a giant showcase, right? So let's cut down on the number of capabilities because they don't make sense. Okay, and nobody of our potential users, meaning game designers, would be using all these capabilities. Okay, it's what we provide is basically a toolbox. What we want to do, what we want to be as a technology company, is we want to be the equivalent of an Unreal Engine or Unity, but for the production of content. Okay, when I'm talking about content, is the production of things to do in the world, just like UE and Unity are super great tools to design your world. Okay, but the dynamic provision of content by understanding the player, this is where we want to be a toolbox, just like these, let's call it a content engine, okay, that would run in parallel or in connection with, rather, an Unreal Engine or Unity or RPG Maker or Godot or whatever it is that you are using. Okay. Answering your question, or should I elaborate?
I would say that was a good answer. It was a good answer to my question. Now, I want to ask one final question on this particular topic, and then I want to move on and talk about the art aspect of it.
Yep.
Previously, in talking to you, you mentioned your goal in developing this game is to have the player to be immersed in a world of NPCs who are self-conscious and conscious of each other. How well would you say Let's Kill Hitler achieves this goal?
Let's Kill Hitler is not achieving this goal from a sensory standpoint. Okay, we are the counterexample because we don't have the budget for. I mean, give us a couple of tens of millions of dollars, and we probably would manage to do something, right? But we obviously don't have this budget, so we went the complete opposing way from a graphical standpoint. What we decided to do, because we cannot churn the graphical environment in under Unreal Engine 5 in 4K plus and these kind of things. What we said is, okay, let's go the opposite way. Okay, let's go simple but original. And here, the immersion of the player is going to come from, I think, the game mechanisms that he's going to find in front of him or her, and the interaction with the NPCs. Okay, these are two things, but we are much closer from an interaction standpoint to a text-based RPG that we are from a modern RPG, though text-based is coming back very, very strong. Answer to your question?
Absolutely. And I feel like that's a great segue into our next topic. Now, you also mentioned previously when we talked that your development team was largely made up of programmers and computer science engineers. With that in mind, how did it approach the art?
Very simply, we created a first community of, we approached a couple of freelancers that we wanted to work with. We had the luck of finding two very good guys who were able to provide us with the concept behind the characters. And then we built up another layer of freelancers which were working and are still working actually on, I would call it general graphics and everything that is icons and so on. So we basically subcontracted everything, with the specificity is that the two guys that we found for the characters design, I mean, working full time for us. So they are part of the family, rather in spite of their status as freelancers, rather than mere subcontractors.
What about the music? Would you say the music developed in a similar manner?
Yeah, actually, we started we had the chance to work with three people today, which are all members of our Twitter community. On this one, I mean, on the graphic side, we got some freelancers from Twitter, but very, very few. But on the music side, actually, everyone came from Twitter. That was a huge success. So we started originally with the idea of an 8-bit music. So we got some brilliant and epic 8-bit pieces, which went perfectly with the type of design and gameplay that we had originally thought of. And I will elaborate on this a little bit after. And it turned out that by field testing, 8-bit music is fine, but a Let's Kill Hitler game is going to last. If you're talking about, for example, the co-op multiplayer, it's tailored to last about 2 hours. Okay, when you got 2 hours of 8-bits, you can love the genre, but it's a little bit complicated, okay, to deal with. So we decided to do not inflict this to our players, and so we got an 8-bit and we got a jazzy, but we are actually going to introduce this quite soon on through a Twitter post. Okay, we took a very, very old jazz, actually a very old standard, which became a musical standard across the world. And we adapted it with various treatments, okay? And so we used a second composer for that. And we have made also a Japanese faction as an extension for the game, which was not originally forecasted. And we had the chance to actually get in touch with a very brilliant Japanese composer, whom we've been working to provide a special background for this faction, and we would probably do the same for a number of specific factions you can play with. So yeah, to make a long story short, the music is also entirely, I would say, crowdsourced.
There's an interesting story behind one of the songs used in the game. Would you like to share it with the audience?
Yeah, actually, what we wanted to do is to have the to give some kind of 1930, 1940 feeling to a part of the game. And it happens so that there is a song which is in the public domain now, which has a very interesting story. It was made in 1932 in Brooklyn, New York. At the time, there was some kind of a parallel roadway for the Yiddish community, which was actually very thriving. And one Yiddish musical became actually a standard and went to Broadway, okay, mainstream. And it went so mainstream that it's been adapted throughout the world. And when I'm saying throughout the world, it means that also Nazi Germany took it as a standard. They Germanized it. So it's a Germanized version from a Germanized from Yiddish, I mean. And what has been made by Jewish people in the US became a standard in Nazi Germany and a huge success. And you had it also in the USSR. You had it in France. You had it in the UK. It has been really localized everywhere, and it's called By Mir bist du Schein, which is globally, for me, you are so pretty. Okay, that would translate roughly as this. It's very very nice swing swing song, and we have a couple of very nice arrangements around this. And this has turned out to be kind of the current backbone, non-8-bit backbone of our musical environment.
I want to ask one final question about the art, and then I want to move on and talk a little bit about the legal aspect. But
yeah.
Your team took a minimalistic approach to the art and the music due to budget constraints. Now, I remarked previously in my past conversations here on Coffee with Big Mike that contrary to what people would normally think, such constraints can surprisingly lead to unleashing a great deal of creativity. Now, do you feel like this was the case with Let's Kill Hitler?
Oh, yeah. Actually, when you have very minimalistic budgets, you are kind of focusing on the essential, and the essential is actually player experience with your content. And we believe that here we managed to make things which are quite original. It's been like 3 months now that we are communicating heavily on Twitter with fellow indies and gamers alike, and what we see is actually people like our design. It makes them laugh, which is the idea. Okay, we are making a silly game for a very serious technology in order to keep things not boring, and people love and they like it. So we had to. I mean, like any indies anyway, what you lack of in terms of financial capacities, you have to compensate with creativity. There is no choice.
Amen to that. So I come from an indie film background. I come from a background working with low and no budget film. And so
okay.
I completely get where you're coming from. And I feel like the art here is really the charm of Let's Kill Hitler. Now, granted, I haven't played the game yet, full disclosure, haven't played the game yet, but the art itself, it looks so charming. It has this certain amount of charm to it. And I can't wait just to see and just to experience that world for myself.
You will definitely be one of the first. So, and it's coming in soon. It's coming in soon. So, yeah. We feel that actually, so that people, full disclosure here also, people should not expect the ARPG of the year. Okay, they should not be expected to be baffled by the environment, but they should expect to have a good laugh. Actually, this is what we provide. I believe that we provide something where they will have a good laugh when playing and discovering the different characters that we put forward and the different mechanisms that we put forward.
And I do believe this based on what I know, that it's going to be quite a unique experience. I do believe it's going to be a very unique experience. The gameplay combined with the art, the music, I do believe it's going to be a very unique experience. Speaking of unique experiences, this game has had some interesting legal hurdles, correct? Particularly in regards to using real-world politicians. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so I got to give you a little bit information about the team. We happen to have actually in the team as many lawyers as we have developers, almost. But we have very peculiar lawyers. We have the privilege actually to have people who are teaching fellows at Harvard Berkman Center on copyright issues and publicity right issues. So They are submittees in their world, and they actually are with us because of many historical reasons, and also because the fact that they are all graduates or proud owners of a PhD in AI and legal. So this has been a privilege for us to have them on board. They are completely embedded within the team, and we are pretty much covered on that. So let me explain you in a nutshell, without entering into boring details, on what we are playing. You've seen that, we got real world people, not just politicians. The one US, the faction member is Marilyn Monroe, for an example. I'm going to break you an exclusive news. Actually, we won't release the game itself before 23rd of November this year, for legal reason, because the second member one of the other members of the U.S. Team is John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And it happens so that laws in terms of protection of personality rights, okay, they are very different depending upon the countries and so on and so on. But in the U.S., it happens so that JFK, Marilyn is a done case. It has been going, I think, up to Supreme Court on that. Her image is not protected anymore since many years now, and JFK will have the same treatment on the 23rd of November this year, which is the reason why we don't release the full game before that. Okay, one of the reasons why we don't release the full game before that. We are using and carefully taking care of using personalities in the respect of their publicity rights. Now, this is also the reason why Let's Kill Hitler is, at least for the most part, free to play. Okay, and will always be. It's because we cannot make a cent from sales of a certain number of images of people. We are having on board Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is making an appearance, more than an appearance, actually. It's obvious that if we start to charge people for Arnold, we run the risk of having a very nice lawsuit. Okay, we got Tommy Lee Jones. We've already been communicating to, and as we have the privilege to be guests on Coffee with Big Mike, one key person that we're going to have, who is going to be a companion for some factions, is going to be Kurt Russell.
Oh.
We are big John Carpenter fans all across the board. Okay, and the idea was, if you need to escape from Bruno, you should use an expert in escaping. So Kurt Russell will be a part of the game, and so basically the core game and a certain number of expansions are going to be free for just starting for this reason. Otherwise, we could not provide the experience.
I can definitely see the 80 movie references now. I can definitely see the angle you guys were going with that. I was kind of curious. I wonder what they could be talking about here. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kurt Russell? I can kind of see where you're going with that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is not all, but we're going to reveal as it goes. Okay, as it goes. You will pardon us for maintaining a little bit of secrecy at this stage of our discussion, but we've got many more meetings scheduled with you. So definitely your audience will have the privilege to be informed in advance on a certain number of very, very funny stuff.
Yeah, actually, one of the things I wanted to ask you today were about the characters that were going to be featured here. You know, some of the major ones are some of the stunners. But wow, before I even asked that question, you kind of dropped some pretty big names.
No, the idea here is you got to understand that the philosophy behind the game. We are we are an international team. Okay, we got US guys, we got European guys from multiple countries, we got Asian guys, we got Latinos, we got Southeast Asian now, and the goal is to. We were all raised. I mean, the core team is all coming from these 80s years, and with a certain humor that you can find in things like Blackadder, for an example, and something which is quite cynical but gentle at the same time. And what we wanted to do is to provide a gentle criticism of stereotypes. Okay, so the French, I will take the French. They are depicted as extremely nosy people, which generally is the way that we are perceived, and we just crank this up to 11. Okay, and one way for us to do this is when you're trying to convey this to an international audience of players, you need to give them things that they recognize. Okay, so we give them politicians that they are able to recognize. We give them movie stars that they are able to recognize. We give them references that they are able to recognize because they heard from it. Okay, and they're going to, of course, the deeper is your culture in 80s movies, the more you're going to enjoy this. That's for sure. But even with a basic knowledge, and as we discussed previously, I think that this knowledge of the 80s is coming back big time. With a basic knowledge, you're going to be able to relate. And so this was kind of our way to address the, let's say, sense of belonging, okay, issue.
I look forward to seeing what the American stereotypes are going to be. I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. I do enjoy deconstruction of stereotypes. I do like, playing with people's expectations. I look forward to seeing the gentle criticism here as well. Kind of want to shift gears again and kind of ask about how the game is structured. And so how is the game structured between the RPG and strategy portion?
Oh, and deck builder. Because this is an important and I think kind of innovative thing. So I would like to answer your question in saying how will it be structured in let's call it version 1, okay, and what we would like to do with version 2. And for this, I'm going to need to backpedal a bit and to come back to the arts. Okay, when we started. The first version of Let's Kill Hitler, and actually it was intended also for the current version of Let's Kill Hitler originally, but we had to ditch it. We were wanting to have something that looked like a classic ARPG. Okay? We wanted you to be able to control your character or party of characters using your keyboard to walk streets, to have fights, turn-based fights with opponents, okay, and to do a number of things. This we had to ditch, not because we could not do it, because this is what we were doing in version 1, but because, contrary to version 1, where you were meeting the NPCs, and I'm talking about the general population of NPC that we absolutely want to show, You were meeting them in their homes or in their workplace, in a classic dialogue view. And this was working fine. Uh, Now, years after, and after a couple of improvements of the tech also, we came out with something where our NPCs are actually a little bit more evolved from a graphical standpoint. And that was a problem because we originally wanted them to walk the streets and to show you that you could see the NPCs moving from their home to their work, for an example. And when you've got 1,000 of them and you don't control, this will be when we will speak about more in details about the technology, but when you don't control their schedule, because we don't control their schedule at all, when you have this, then you've got clogging, which is happening. Because you will have a couple of hundreds of guys which are going on the streets. Okay, and the issue that we have is, as we are not a AAA studio and we don't have a budget for the generating the decors properly, we were using maps on which our little characters were moving. And it very quickly came to a point when we were testing, you could not see anything anymore on the screen. So you had all these characters coming up, gathering at some point in time, and you've got 100 guys who are on the same portion of the streets on the map, and this is unacceptable from a gameplay experience. It's a catastrophe. So we had to ditch the world. We tried multiple things like representing them under the form of a crowd, but it was ridiculous because a crowd was starting with. When do you start a crowd? Okay, you can consider that you start a crowd with 2 people, and then you have to kind of click on the crowd to get the details and whatever. But this was losing completely its purpose, and this was creating actually quite a poor experience. So we ditched the whole thing, and we said, okay, no more walking on the street. Okay, end of game, back to the original spirit of Let's Kill Hitler, where you are meeting people in a face-to-face dialogue. And so this is kind of the this has an impact. This had an impact on what we wanted to do with the game here. Okay, so now to answer your question, the RPG part is going to be a very important one if you consider RPG by interaction with the environment, okay, and including and especially these NPCs. The whole thing is, in a nutshell, the core mechanic of the game is you are sent back in time, and I'm going to break you a new Big Mike exclusivity. You don't get to kill Hitler, never. Okay. You travel back in time to Brno, place of birth of Hitler, on the day of his birth to kill him in his crib. But he's gone. He has been protected by Nazis who also travel back in time. And you have to change course. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a second travel back in time, like to the generation of his grandfathers and grandmothers, and you're going to go for killing one of his ancestors. Okay? So you got 4 possible ancestors, 2 grandfathers, 2 grandmothers. You know a number of details from them, but you got to find out what they do, where they are, and you need to kill one of them. Right? So you need to gather clues, and the only way to gather these clues is to interact with the population, because you're going to need to find, and this is where the way that we are creating our population of NPCs now becomes very important. Don't forget that all these NPCs, they are united by their common history. So they got they got a social network, each of them. Okay, each of them got neighbors, each of them got coworkers, each of them got childhood friends, people they don't like, etc., etc., etc. And by interacting, and each of them has got also, let's say, an alignment with the faction that you represent. So you got people who are going to be nicer with French, nicer with English, nicer with Russians, nicer with Germans. Okay, and depending upon that, you're going to be of your own characteristics. You're going to be able to extract more or less information from them, which is going to guide you to another NPC who is going to give you more information, and so on, and so on, and so on. So you're going to collect the information which is necessary to the completion of your mission this way. And you're going to have to explore the city, and you're going to have to meet these people in order to do that. So that is the first part of the RPG. Okay, the role playing itself is quite important because each faction that you play has got a different character. We've been talking about these stereotypes. Okay, so there are stereotypes which are associated with the faction. There are also stereotypes which are associated with the characters which are associated to the faction. Okay, what we call the agents. Okay, so you got your team of agents which are belonging to the faction, and depending upon your choices of agents, you're going to change a little bit your gameplay. And of course, there will be a big number of differences between playing the French, playing the English, playing the Americans, playing Russians. It's going to be completely different. It would be the equivalent of playing a class, a different class in a classical RPG. Okay, so this is for the RPG part. Now, the strategy part is that you're going to need, in order to get access to clues and to know what you're looking for. You're going to need to manage resources. So let's say that you've got your own network of spies, okay, which are in the indicators, informants, which are present in the city. And you can hire new ones and develop this set of resources in order to improve your ability to gather information. So there is a strategic aspect in how actually you are doing that will greatly will have a great impact on your results. And the deck building, we decided to have a different approach to classical character building, because again, we are not building a character. Okay, you're not playing a character, you're playing a faction with its agents. And we are using a system of multiple decks, actually. There are specialized decks, which are basically allowing you to customize further your gameplay and customize further the characteristics of your faction. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. The main deck is made of 9 different type of cards. Okay, you can introduce an agent. So this is allowing you to deploy an agent on the field. You can beef up an agent. You can beef up your informant network. You can get access to more Nazi gold, which is basically our currency in game. Okay, which is allowing you to buy food, to buy medicine, to buy weapon upgrades and these kind of things, or to bribe NPCs in order to recruit them or to prohibit them from doing a number of things, etc., etc. So, depending upon the cards that you're going to put in your deck, you're going to have a gameplay that is going to be more oriented upon action, let's say. You're going to beef up, you're going to increase the number of cards that you are allocated to agent management, or you're going to increase the number of cards that you are allowing to your treasury or to your informant network abilities, etc., etc. So you can have really big differences between two players playing the same faction. Does that answer the question, Mike?
It does. I want to backtrack a bit. I want to ask.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned that different NPCs will react differently to the various factions. Now, I want to ask: will there ever in the game be any interactions between the different factions?
Oh, yes. We got actually. You've got three ways of playing Let's Kill Hitler. You have a solo mode, and I will come back to this on regarding the RPG standpoint. Okay, the interaction with NPCs and the quest and so on and so on. You got a solo mode in which you are playing one faction. It has to be for the moment, but I will. This is V1, but V2 is going to come very fast. We hope, and will allow you to play other factions, but. For the moment, in single player, you will be able to play one of the allies, okay? And you will play against the Germans, which are obviously here to protect the ancestors of Hitler. This is for the solo. Now you have, and it's not made, what we really want to showcase is the co-op and multiplayer modes, okay? The co-op mode is actually you're going to play the allies against the Germans. So your factions, your allied factions, will interact between them. And we decided to add a little bit more mayhem to the game by allowing you to play a third faction in this mode, which is the locals, and I will come back to this, which are basically a revolutionary group which has decided to make Tyrol great again. And they are Tyrolean nationalistic semi-terrorist organization, which is playing either against the Allies and the Axis forces, or playing along with them, one of them, or switching sides along the way, as they see fit. Okay, what you got to understand is all our mechanism for winning a game is based not upon real cooperation between parties, but upon the fact that, yes, of course, you should achieve your objective, but it's even better if your allies are not achieving them. So, treason, treachery is definitely going to be part of the game.
That sounds like it's going to add a really, really interesting dynamic to the game. Going to add a really, really interesting dynamic. And I have to ask, this is one question I really wanted to ask here. Now, was this something that you guys just invented for this game, or was this actually based on the real historical relationships during a time between the Allies?
Well, actually, everybody knows that after 1945, things turned definitely sore between the different allies. French-US relationship have been a bit complicated. Russian and US were definitely complicated. And the French and Franco-English relationship have always been complicated. So it definitely creates an environment in which is prone for telling yourself that, yeah, if these guys would have had the power effectively to go back in time, get rid of Hitler, they would probably have loved to make sure that one of them was taking the lead, and actually they were taking the lead over the other factions, okay, and scoring a maximum number of advantages during this mission. So, and this is part of the stereotypes that we discussed before. So, if you take one very interesting competence of the English, for an example, the English got, and I want to precise that we've got actually the CTO is a UK citizen. So, as it's the English have got a backstabbing competence. They got the ability to make the French ally lose half of his points in everything from time to time. So wherever is on the map, you got the ability to backstab your French ally, making him lose 50% of his movement, life, XP also. I mean, absolutely everything. So it's quite crippling, and it's an interesting mechanism when you. The whole thing, Mike, here is going to have people playing together, but really having fun by betraying themselves. Think about Among Us meets Saving Private Ryan, right? And that is going to be basically the kind of spirit that we want to have here, okay? And we feel that the players are going to have a lot of fun here. So you got the co-op and you got the multiplayer, which we call the free for all, because in co-op you can backstab your allies, but you cannot do it really openly. I mean, you cannot put a bullet into your allies' agents. You don't have the right to do this. So you got plenty of other ways. Don't worry. But in free for all, it's an absolute mess because you can really treat your ally like if he was your enemy. It's not a problem. It's not an issue. You can perfectly eradicate all of your allies before you go tackle the task of killing Hitler. Killing an Hitler's ancestor. You have this right, so it's a mayhem plus mode. Let's call it like this.
When you choose a specific faction, will choosing a specific faction have any impact on the game's difficulty, or is it more or less an even playing field in regards to how the factions are set up?
No, they are very well balanced. Okay, you just got a different way. They are made to be. You can play them solo, okay, or in this free for all, you can really kill everybody else and move forward if you want, okay, and you won't have a difference in your abilities to win based upon which faction you've been taking. They are also made to be complementary. Okay, so if you want to co-op this properly, you can also co-op this properly. Okay, they just have different ways of doing things. Some factions are more strong on. Basically, you can divide your abilities into parts. You've got action abilities. Okay, blowing things, killing people, this kind of stuff. And you've got manipulation abilities, diplomacy, negotiation, managing your spy network, etc., etc. And some factions are really more on action. Okay, some factions are or more on information, and some factions are going to be a little bit more balanced. Okay, and they're going to rely on the combination of the two. So it's really a different way of achieving your targets, but it is absolutely equal in terms of capability to win. And when you are in PvP, let's call it free for all, or when cooperation is starting to turn sour, your ability to damage another faction is actually equal, because you will just not damage them the same way. Okay, you will not cripple their ability the same way. You can imagine this like the duel of a powerful tank and a powerful mage in a D&D based RPG, right?
I see. So like every class, like we could kind of almost think of like the factions almost of like classes, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They are classes.
And so each one will have their own set of abilities. Some abilities, some classes may have a stronger capability in one area, whereas they may lack in another area. Where a different class will be weak in the area that the other one was strong in, but strong in the other area that the other one was weak in. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And after that, this is a combination of your agent sets, okay? And so the agents that you're going to pick for your faction and your deck building, which are going to allow you either to even reinforce this specificity or to kind of multi-class, okay? So if you're a faction which is very strong in action, okay, basically destroying stuff, you will still have access to agents which are providing you with a little bit more of information capabilities, and you will be able to reinforce these agents further and your global information capabilities by adding a little bit more cards in your deck to create enough capabilities so you got a decent level of information and manipulation related abilities.
Also, while we're on this subject, I want to
Mm-hmm.
ask, are there any other gameplay mechanics that you feel like our listeners should know about?
Oh yeah, we actually got tons of them. One thing that we feel is going to be very nice, and this is part of this mayhem thing, and also well, let's start by more mayhem. We've got a very unique mechanism that we call the taunt mechanism. You have a taunt deck, so you will be able to build malices for you. Okay, you exchange the crippling of some of your capabilities against the ability to rob victory from by robbing literally XP from the other players. So you basically, I'm a French and I'm going to turn to the English and say, well, I'm going to take minus 50% in damages that I'm doing to you. I'm not going to be able to use this capacity against you. But in exchange, because this is creating me a malus of level X, in exchange, if I make more points than you, then I'm going to steal 90% of your XP.
Oh.
Okay? Because I'm taking a crippling damage. So, and basically, everyone is able to devise, that's one of the fun part of our deck buildings. We provide a number of standard towns, okay? But you will be able to devise your own towns and to give them a name. And this is the nosy French curse, okay, against the English. And let's go. And if I'm making more points than you, then I will basically you will get out of there with 0 points. Okay. So this is a first mechanism, which is quite, we believe is quite funny. And it will also allow more experienced user, for example, to, if you are in a group with new players or whatsoever, it's also a way to increase the difficulty for you. Okay, as an experienced players with noobs on the other side, you might want to do this. So it can be a good thing, or just to piss off your best friend and take off his XP. That's fine. The second thing that is very nice, again, when you are in the multiplayer mode, you will be able to create challenges. So, what is a challenge? It's a quest. It's a dynamic quest of a certain level. And here, what you're going to say is basically you're going to say, I'm going to bet you that you are unable to perform a level 10 difficulty quest while we are killing Hitler. Okay? So you've got to achieve, of course, the main objective, but also if you accept the quest, then you are, well, if you accept the challenge, then you know that at some point in time, well, when you decide it, actually, you're going to be able to say, well, now I'm ready to perform the quest. It's not a predefined quest. Okay? You can actually set up a number of parameters when you're creating your challenge. You can say it's a level 10 challenge, or you can say it's a level 10 challenge which includes traveling through 3 zones, defeating 2 enemies, and bringing back 1 object. Okay? You can have this level of granularity from absolutely no description to some evolved description. You're proposing this, and now what is happening is the moment where being the recipient of this quest, I decide to play it, then things are going to become defined. My starting point is, of course, where I am when I'm saying I'm launching the quest. And based upon its characteristics, based upon the time that is left to complete the game, because we got a limited number of rounds of turns in the multiplayer and co-op games. So when you've got this time limitation, if you decide to start your quest 10 turns before the end, it's not the same that if you decide to start it on turn 1. Okay? So we're going to adapt automatically the number of phases that you have to go through in order to fit with this time frame. We're going to adapt the difficulty of the encounters that you are making, the fights that you are making. We're going to adapt the level of your opponents based upon your current level and abilities. If it's a level 10 challenge, it must be hard. If it's a level 1 challenge, it must be easy, okay, to do it. And we're going, of course, to allocate NPCs as the quest giver and as the different characters which are going to intervene into the quest, like we discussed previously when we were talking about the technology. So this is the way that we illustrate this. And from a game mechanism standpoint, it's quite interesting because you are basically, challenging your opponent, saying, I'm going to put you a certain level of difficulty. Again, if you accept it and you fail, I'm going to take a number of XPs from you. But if you win, I'm going to pay you a number of XPs. So it's creating a little bit of a way to annoy or make things more difficult or more challenging for the other ones. We are still in the same logic.
I feel like it actually illustrates the point you mentioned earlier about how, there's going to be like this inter-rivalry even between the allies. I feel like it's going to, it's going to add a pretty interesting dimension to that.
Absolutely. I think that this is a core, the core part of the game itself. Okay. This spirit of, we want people to have fun together. And at some point in time, in most games, have fun is when you're having a good laugh because your pal, your friend has been actually falling into your trap or failing big time. Okay. And you've succeeded. That's part of the fun. I mean, see the success of something like Among Us, which is basically a condensé of, I don't have the English word for that, actually. Essence of these mechanisms.
I know. We're still a ways off before the game releases to the general public. But even so, I just want to ask, do you have any insider gameplay advice or tips you can offer players?
If you don't mind, Mike, I would like not to answer this now. I think that it would be best to be kept for uh, when we're going to start providing you things with the demo.
No worries, no worries.
Because otherwise we're going to reveal uh, things that we want to keep hidden for the moment.
No worries, I completely understand. What does the future have in store for Let's Kill Hitler?
Let's talk first, if you don't mind, about what we are releasing as part of the demo. So we're going to be part of Steamfest this October with a demo version, which will illustrate, which will be the complete deck building and the ability to play in a limited way. Okay, so you won't be able to conduct a full game for one reason. As you understand, we are not having graphic capabilities, and we have been suffering a lot from that. We had one of our guys actually fell sick for several weeks. One of our core designers, we tried to subcontract. It was a catastrophe. So we took a lot of delay in creating the zones. Okay, the zone graphics. So as we speak, actually, only a small part of the map is explorable. We are still discussing whether or not we are going with a full opening with placeholders, but we would like to keep, small budget, cheap, but not so cheap, okay, with a minimum of quality. And we are hesitating a lot on opening the full game. But you will be able to experiment Bruno in a tourist mode, to interact with NPCs. It will not be with the complexity of navigation that you might have, and you will be able to play a number of rounds against the enemy. Okay, might it be in a multiplayer or in a solo mode. Also, we don't want to release a full, because we've got a couple of, I would call them Easter eggs. Okay, we got a couple of Easter eggs, which are going to lead to what we want to bring in the future. And when I'm talking about what we want to bring in the future, this includes things which are also going to be part of the full version, which is going to be released before Christmas. So our agenda is demo, Steamfest, an early access that will come up quite soon after the Steamfest, and end of December, a full version of the V1. Okay, of the V1 of the game. Now, what we want to do is, of course, it's important to know that we are bootstrapped. Okay, so we are on our own funds, meaning that we are cautious with our money. We are enjoying a lot doing the game. We are having fun doing this. And I feel that everybody that is interacting with us can feel this. But at the end of the day, we are not a game studio. Okay? As I told you, the base core version of the game is going to be free, meaning no revenue. Okay? We're going to support the server architecture for co-op and multiplayer. So we are doing all this because it's a formidable demo for our tech, that's for sure. But if we want to move forward, and we've got a couple of ideas, this has to be in a V2, okay? And this needs to be backed up by some form of commercial success of the free version, okay? And people who are ready to pay for content at the end of the day. So if things are going fine with the V1, then what we got in store, and most of it is actually ready, to the exception of the specific graphic design for that. But what we have is the idea to insist on the RPG part. I mean, the strategy part and the deck building part, you got them pretty much out of the box from the V1. You got a limited RPG, meaning that we don't come up with epic quests or side quests by the ton. Okay. You got basically one companion quest, which is going to allow you to find Kurt Russell and to hire him as a member of your team. We introduce a couple of savory characters like Herb Fitz, the evil pharmacist of the village. We introduce also, this is a decision that we've been taking the last week while we were brainstorming / partying, which is to introduce another character, which is going to be Philon Tusk, who is the head of the Telegram and Pigeons company, communications company in Brno, who has also his own personal agenda. And you've got ancient aliens, because everybody has been traveling on ancient aliens technology. So you got some aliens presence, let's say, which is actually the outfits and the aliens were scheduled, and we decided to add Philanthropist because it's funny. So basically, what we want to do is to provide a much richer experience in solo / co-op play. Okay, from the RPG standpoint, so you will be able to achieve to access additional content, and this additional content after that should lead you to possible extension. We got plenty of ideas, and with making you travel in time again. Okay, so to cut a long story short, the idea is, when you will finish the game, if you access the Easter egg, you will be lost in time, okay, with no possibility to come back, and you will be able to travel to other destinations, and we will give actually a sample destination as part of the Easter egg. So the idea is really to move forward on the RPG part with content, funny content, and elaborated content. The premises, the preconditions are already there. Everything that is required is actually already there in our current setup. What we would definitely love to is to still provide you with the ability to really walk the streets of where Brno and tomorrow other places. Okay, this is a completely different story. We will probably go through crowdfunding for that. We doubt that we will have. I mean, unless we have a commercial success, which is absolutely incredible, but we doubt. Okay, we doubt that we are tomorrow's Among Us right now. That's for sure. But we might be proven wrong, and I wish we are. But basically, we're going to try to find some way, or a publishing deal or whatever, which is allowing us to improve this part of the experience, so you can enjoy proper turn-by-turn fight with your friends / opponents, for an example. Okay, this is a dimension that we would love to add, and well, if we got the success that is necessary, we will definitely add.
Honestly, I usually look forward to every Steam Next Fest. It's one of the highlights on my calendar every year. Well, every couple months, I should say. But this next Steam Next Fest actually is sounding much more exciting now that I know that Let's Kill Hitler is going to be there. I look forward to checking that out. Now, you mentioned previously that there was going to be maybe a limited demo for backers.
Oh no, it's not a limited demo for backers. It's actually a limited package for of content for backers. This is exactly, there are a couple of characters that we would love to introduce into the game. Okay, but where we know that if we do this in any under any form of uh, you need to pay a cent to access this. We're going to be prosecuted till kingdom comes. Okay, so we decided to take these characters and also a third one for good measure. We decided to put them into an edition where the only condition to access the contents is to back us in some way. So you can back us by being a Twitter follower. You can back us by wishlisting us on Steam. You can back us by registering on the website. You can back us by the day there is a Kickstarter, if and when, by being, of course, a backer on Kickstarter. I mean, be a part of the community, okay? And we will be very happy to deliver you the content as an extension. So it's a couple of configuration files, nothing more. But this will provide you with interesting characters. You've got Klaus Davos, who is a character which is quite going to be quite interesting to have in your set if you're an Austrian, if you're playing the Austrian faction. You've got Dr. Georgios Adastrapopoulos, who is the Nazi Germany expert on ancient aliens. So these ones were really the two maximum legal risk, and this is no way that we are providing this outside of this pack. And as we decided to call this a conspiracy theory pack, yeah, this is well. You got one elite ruler of the world, one ancient alien theorist, which we make also flat earther and the whole 9 yards. Okay, and the third one, which is Tommy Lee Jones, the man in white, who has a couple of abilities to repel the evil reptilians and a number of other alien threats. So that these are the three characters that we put in play for this pack, and they are going to be fun to play. They are having really unique capabilities. So we can only tell to people we need a way to make this available for you without going through a couple of millions of dollars of litigation. So please follow us, wishlist us, do something so we know that you're here. And the moment when we release the game, we are able to give you for free, forever, this content, so you can have fun with it, because we had a lot of fun creating them. And it would be really sad if they would stay in our drawer.
I can definitely tell this has definitely been a huge passion for you and the rest of the members of your development family. I can tell this has been something that you guys, have dedicated years to at this point. So I can definitely tell that it's something you guys have really enjoyed. And so I look forward to checking out not only the base game, but also this special Conspiracy Theorist package as well. But I want to ask you one final question before we go. One final question before I turn the mic over to you, I should say. Now, you mentioned before that, you and your team were not game developers. So being that this is your first game development project you've worked on, Have you learned anything about yourself?
Oh, a lot of things. Actually, we learned completely the notion of the word failure. It's, we had the time to experiment it, long, large, wide. Uh, actually, we came to this with originally with the idea of saying, well, we're going to make a mini. Really, it was thought as a mini game. Okay, you take Let's Kill Hitler V1 years back. It's powerful, but there is nothing to do in that. Okay, you just move from house to house, meeting people, finding your target, killing your targets. There is not much in there. And the thing is, when we restarted the project post COVID, we really wanted to have fun. So we said, well, let's make it a real game. But we were not being game developers. I mean, the backbone of the thing, okay? All that is in the back scene is something that we completely master. And is really not an issue. But the graphical parts, knowing, even if we don't do it by ourselves, I mean, the fact of being able to convey to people which are external to the team, to convey them vision, the frustration when you don't see it coming, okay, coming back in the way that you were imagining it, the deeper frustration when it comes back the way you were imagining it, but now something is happening and you cannot implement what has been provided to you. Because I was discussing this issue with, got 100 guys who are going to pop up in the same place at the same time. And this becomes unplayable. We actually had to tone down a number of things, and we had to accept this. And this is from an ego standpoint, that's a bit complicated. When you have to cut down on something that you really want to showcase because you're so proud of it, and you cannot implement it because otherwise it's going to destroy the rest of the of the gameplay. This is a pretty hard pill to swallow. So I guess what we learned is actually humility a lot through this, and a big respect for all the indie developers out there who are doing this on their own. Okay, when I see in the community people who are super small teams, because today Let's Kill Hitler is globally about 12 people working full time on the different aspects. Okay, when I see what guys with 1, 2, 3 developers are managing to do, that is pretty impressive. Really pretty impressive. Once you've been behind the scenes, you're just realizing that things which you thought were going to be relatively easy and obvious to do are not easy and might not be the actually most obvious thing to do.
I can definitely understand where you're coming from. I'm not a game developer myself, but I've definitely stuck my toe into the game development water. I used to work about maybe 2018, 2019, working with some visual novel game dev. And and I don't have a background in programming or anything like that. And I can tell you have to have patience, man. You have got to have patience. You have to have the patience of a saint to do some of this stuff. And I gotta say, to be able to take a project from its very infancy to where it is now, like you guys did with Let's Kill Hitler. Ooh, you guys deserve all the respect in the world, fam. You guys deserve all the respect in the world for that. I can only imagine. Well, I don't have to imagine. You've told me over the course of this interview the trials that you guys had to go through. You started off with a huge problem with the population, and I kind of whenever I hear you brought it up, I kind of imagined, if you ever seen like a video of New York City, or a huge urban population right there where everybody's kind of converged into one place. I'm not sure if that's actually how it was, but that's kind of how I imagine it to be when you said you had that population problem with the NPCs in the very first build of Let's Kill Hitler. So I can imagine how frustrating it must have been, how to go back to the drawing board over and over again. But one thing I have learned about game dev, especially indie game dev, it is very much an issue of trial and error. To see what works, see what you can do. I have
Absolutely.
the greatest amount of respect for you guys. But I want to turn the mic over to you, and I want to ask if you have any questions for me or if there's anything you'd like to add.
Well, I might definitely have some questions for you, because you look like you've got quite interesting and atypical background. So we like atypical stuff. You mentioned you were in teaching and in the film production. And you're an American. What brought you to Indonesia?
My wife is Indonesian, so my wife is
Your wife is
Indonesian.
Indonesian. Yeah.
And so it's much easier for me to move here than it is for her to move there. The immigration process is, unfortunately, in America, contrary to popular belief, it's very difficult and very expensive to immigrate. So if I wanted her to immigrate there, it would cost us $7,000 to $10,000, up front, and even then, it's not necessarily a guarantee that she would get accepted. Whereas here, in order for me to become a permanent resident, I'm looking at about maybe $1,000 or $1,500 spread out over the course of 5 to 10 years. And usually, in most places in the world, I know this is definitely true in Asia. I'm not sure about Europe or other places outside of the United States, but most places, I'm told, won't accept money from you until you've been approved. So yeah, I'm from a pretty humble background. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I got out of university, I worked 2 different jobs, 2 different minimum wage jobs, just to kind of support myself. So I'm definitely not a man of means. So I'm not the type of guy who could take, $7,000 and throw it away. So that was a big reason. Also, another big issue is I hate cold weather, man. I absolutely hate cold weather. And at first, it never got cold here. But where I live up high up in the mountains. And so there is a cold season here. The interesting thing is, when I first came here, it did not feel cold. But after being here for close to 10 years, oh boy, our winter time really does feel cold. 15 degrees feels much colder here in Indonesia than it ever felt in the United States.
Yeah, when you're used to something which is north of the 30s, that's for sure that it's making a difference. That's clear. That's absolutely clear. Okay, that's nice. That's a nice reason to move. Actually, a lot of our group, including myself, are married to foreigners and made the move in order to be with their chosen one along the way. So it's love has always been a great factor for adventure globally. So it's interesting. And what brought you from teaching and filmmaking to YouTube or VTube?
So it's a bit of an interesting story. So I didn't really study filmmaking when I was in university, but I kind of dabbled in it because I had always had an interest in filmmaking ever since I was in high school. I saw a really interesting American film from the 1990s called Clerks. And it really introduced me to the world of low and no budget filmmaking. And so I was always really big into writing and acting and such. And the thing about low and no budget filmmaking is that, you don't have a huge budget. So whenever you write a story, whatever story you're going to write is going to be around whatever you have at your disposal. So as a college student, I figured, this is a great time for me to make a movie. I have friends who can volunteer to be in my movie. I have a college campus I could use for my setting. And so I decided to make a couple films when I was in university. As a result, once I left the university, I didn't really do anything else with that because I'm from a very small town in North Carolina, which is a very rural state in the southeastern United States. And so I didn't really do too much. And then I've always had an interest in YouTube, like ever since I was in university, but especially since I started teaching, because my work is pretty much, I work online, so my work is pretty much me staring at a computer screen until I get a student who wants a lesson, and then I'll take that lesson, but I have a lot of downtime in between that. So I tend to live on YouTube. So I'll have YouTube playing in one tab and I'll be waiting in another tab. And so I was like, you know what? I know a good deal about, film production and such. And I've kind of dabbled in a little bit of this and a little bit of that over the course of my life. I'm 36 years old now, so I'm getting up there in age. So I kind of have some life experience. I figure, you know what? Why not do this? Maybe it's a midlife crisis. Maybe it was just, I guess, maybe boredom brought on by the pandemic. But I saw a lot of things just kind of line up for me. So I'm not very big on Twitter, or at least I didn't used to be. And so maybe I would come back to Twitter once a year, every year for Sage, which is this huge game festival I participate in. And just to celebrate that, share my experiences with and stuff. And then after this festival is over, I disappear again for another year. But 2021, I returned for Sage, and I had heard about VTubers and such, but the technology behind it seemed really out of reach for an ordinary person like me. But when I returned to Twitter, I noticed that there were a lot of VTubers active. And these aren't big people like Ninja Sanji or Vsojo, or even big independent people like Nuxtaku. These were people who were very small people, like maybe less than 100 followers on Twitter, maybe less than 20 subscribers on YouTube, and they were still putting out content. So I was like, wait a minute, if they can do that, maybe I can do that too. And so that kind of set me on my journey. So it's been a long process because the technology behind that and the art and stuff is a bit expensive, and I kind of need to upgrade my system before I even think of doing something like that. So at some point in time, I'm going to become a VTuber, or that's my plan. But until then, I'm just a YouTuber, and in reality, not much is going to change. When I do finally become a VTuber, my content's still going to be the same. Just instead of just being a floating voice, it's going to be like a virtual avatar on the screen. So that's kind of how I have all this crazy experience, and I'm kind of a jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Yeah, but this is actually allowing to target issues with multiple viewpoints. So, I think that jack of all trades are indispensable parts of any organization, even and especially when you're an organization of one. Okay, you'd better be actually a jack of all trades than an expert by yourself in something. Unless you're in a consulting job, but it's different. But definitely, this is what you do is something very very interesting. We've been communicating quite extensively since a short time, but decent enough. We took a look at a lot of things that you are doing, and actually, it's very diverse. Your content is very diverse. We like very much your interest into these UFO thing in the US. What is happening now is quite interesting. It's really, really interesting. France, we had in the 70s, we did set up officially an organism for studying, let's call them UFOs, for dealing with this kind of phenomenon. It's been working ever since. If you are interested, I don't know if you are French speaker yourself or not.
I'm not, unfortunately.
You're not. Okay. You might find out. Google Translate is your friend. You should have. I encourage you to take a look at GPAN. It's GEPAN. They made a lot of publication over the years, again, since the 70s. So you might have a lot of content that you can access online, and there are written reports because at the time we obviously French don't publish in English, so it's a refusal to do so. So unfortunately, this is not translated material, but this might be of interest for you in your quest. So I can only but recommend recommend this. It's very, very interesting. And we have some, I mean, really nice profile couple of astrophysicists in the team, in the historical team of this organization. So it's they produce some high level stuff. Very, very well. If you want to wrap up, we are pumped of having the ability to collaborate with you. I think that this has been a great 2 hours plus that we spent together, and I'm thrilled to know that we will do this tomorrow also. So it's a very good thing. We really like the approach that you have, as we discussed when we were preparing this talk. What is important for us is to be able to explain. I will elaborate this further when we deal with the technology part. But there is so much hype right now in the field where we are, and so much, pardon the expression, but bullshit, which is being said on this market, that we didn't want it to come up in a format where people would have the impression that we would be overshooting things and overplaying things. And this requires for us the time to explain things to people. And I think that as we explain things to people, they will find actually another motive for some of them to play the game. Which is to experience, to get a taste of not only what we as a team are able to produce now and in the future, but what can be a different way to experience an open world game, and especially an RPG. Okay? And what is awaiting in the future, because this field is super interesting. Again, right now, it's overhyped. We are probably going to come up to a new AI winter. There has been multiple AI winters through AI history. Probably this is what we are expecting if people like ChatGPT keep on playing the marketing that they are playing. And not only ChatGPT, there are others who are overplaying big time. But once people understand what this whole field is able to bring them in-game, I think that they will actually be quite thrilled and excited about it. So looking forward to be able to provide further details on that.
This has been a pleasure as well. I look forward to working with you guys as well. This has been an amazing experience. And I can say from day one, you and your team have been straightforward. Whenever I'd have a misconception, you guys were straightforward to clear it up. Say, hey, wait a minute, Michael. It's not quite like that. And I really do respect that, man. I really, really, really do respect that. I'm from a background that really values, under promising and over delivering.
Yeah,
it's much better to under promise and over deliver than to over promise and under deliver. And so that has my respect right there, 100% fam. And I want to thank you so much, for giving me the tip about GPen as well. I'm gonna be sure to look into that. And I just want to remind my audience while we're here that this is actually part 1 of a 2-part interview series. Now, in this interview, we covered the basics the story elements, some of the light gameplay elements. But in our next interview, we're going to be looking deep under the hood. We're going to be looking deep under the hood at some of the more complex issues or aspects of the technology. And so this game is built on some fantastic technology, and I greatly appreciate Lawrence for taking the time to come back and explain it to us. Thank you so much, Lawrence, for all your support and for joining us today. All right, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls, thank you so much for joining us as well. Be sure to check out the Steam page at the link below. Please be sure to wishlist it. Wishlisting games are a great way to support indie developers. Also, be sure to check out Let's Kill Hitler on Twitter and give them a follow. Special thanks to Fran, who does a wonderful job of doing my art. She's back on Twitter, so please give her a follow. A special thanks to all of my friends on Twitter. I wouldn't be here without you all. And most importantly, a special thank you to all of you for watching. Please like this video if you liked it. Dislike it if you dislike it. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you think. And if you like my content, please subscribe and turn your notifications on. Until next time, fam, remember, just be yourself and you'll be awesome. Peace out!